Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, James Gunn believes that Superman will not need any reshoots. Sounds good. Let's have a look at his reasoning, shall we? So, in basically a huge post over on Threads, that's a thing now. I've never used it. What do you guys think of Threads? Let me know down below. Anyway, so in a pretty long post on Threads, filmmaker James Gunn has revealed that he doesn't anticipate helming any reshoots for his upcoming Superman reboot. Now, that is actually really interesting, because normally reshoots are factored in, they're factored into the production time. Pickups, pretty normal thing, when they're just pickups. So I find this interesting. Now, it says here, that may sound like a bold proclamation. What if test audiences don't like it? But Gunn's track record apparently speaks for itself. Does it? The Suicide Squad, anyone? Anyway, we'll see. So according to Gunn, says, I've done a total of 1 day of reshoots on my past 2 films combined. And again, that was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and The Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad, I mean, I didn't like it. But that's because it was pretty much the same. It was just the same film. I thought it was meh, bland and fine. I quite enjoyed Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, though. It was kind of fine. It was alright. So it says here, these insights from DC Studios co-CEO are pretty fascinating as they unpack his creative process. We also see how his methodical approach to the movies he writes and directs means extensive reshoots, which typically rework movies during post-production, aren't required. So I think this is quite interesting. We will see. Obviously, the proof's in the pudding. We don't know what the film's going to be like. We have no idea. So the proof is in the pudding. We'll see. But here's what he says anyway. So, over-prepare. But you can't over-prepare for people's response. Can you? Can you? I don't know. Don't start shooting until I have a finished script my whole team is happy with. That's a good one. That's actually something Marvel has a problem with at the moment. They are pretty much always shooting without scripts finished. Or, greenlighting films at the very least where they've got no script, like Blade, for instance. In the Multiverse of Madness was a film that they didn't have a script finished with, and they were doing rewrites during, essentially, the production time. Like, that film was just a shit show. Hire actors and department heads I know can do their jobs. You'd think that was a given, wouldn't you? You genuinely... You think that you'd think that one was a given? Hire actors. And I guess that makes sense why he always tends to work with the same actors. But, again, that's alarming, because you would think that was a given. Hire actors and department heads I know can do their jobs. Yeah, come on now. Surround myself with people... I'm just saying this from like a perspective of him compared to other elements of Hollywood. You can make your own assumption of whether he's BSing or whether this is right or wrong, or, I find these things comical, basically. Surround myself with people who will challenge me and not just yes sir everything. Again, you'd think that was a given. I know it's not comfortable, but you would hope that was a given from most productions, because you don't want yes men. George Lucas famously had many yes men on the prequel films, and I know cop a lot of flack talking anything about George Lucas, but that is a thing. That is a thing. He had a lot of yes men on those films. Ask myself daily, are there any small imperfections in the script, or what we're shooting that might end up feeling like huge imperfections when we cut the film together? So that's, I guess, having an astute eye and observing things as you go along. So you'd hope that was a given as well. But not necessarily always with creatives, right? And 6 is 1 and 2 again. Because he was replying to someone saying, what's your method for not doing a lot of reshoots? I'm curious. So I like this stuff. We do have the first sort of example of this, I guess, in Creature Commandos, which is releasing this year. Later on this year, but it's still releasing this year. So that'll be interesting to see. Be interesting to see what people think. The Suicide Squad, although received well, didn't do very well financially. People didn't go out and watch it, so it had a very small demographic. So I guess you could say that, is that fair to judge it by? because not a lot of people watched it, but those that did watch it liked it. But is that because people were primed to like it because people were being very selective about what they were watching that year? Maybe. Anyway, more people spoke to him about this. And someone said reshoots can also add a lot of time too. James Gunn says, I don't know. I've done a total of 1 day of reshoots on my past 2 films. That sounds like a flex. Weird flex, but okay. No, I mean, it is a flex, but that's good, I guess. Dependent how you view things. Someone says 5 is interesting. Ever happened to you that a small imperfection turned out to be a huge problem in editing? How did you fix? James Gunn says, always. Sometimes you can fix, sometimes you have to live with the mistake. Because that was someone replying to this, says, ask myself daily, are there any imperfections in the script or what we're shooting that might end up feeling like huge imperfections when we cut the film together? So that's an admission that, although this is something that he follows, rules-wise, he can't necessarily always stick to. Or doesn't necessarily bear fruit all the time. That's literally him admitting that. And someone says, how much storyboarding do you do? I storyboard every single frame of the film. It's not pretty, but I get it done. Storyboarding is super important, actually. Super, super, super important. So, I mean, I guess the real take home from this is this guy has to be completely dead certain of himself. To work like this, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what I think about this overall. Some of his statements here, you'd think is a given in the industry, but alas, maybe this is an admission that it's not a given. I mean, again, we know with Marvel that some of these things aren't. I don't particularly like James Gunn massively. I think some of his films can be very, very hit or miss, actually. So, I think this is interesting. And this is an interesting thing. Do you think that... test screenings. Oh, you know what? I guess that would be really interesting come test screening time. Because if there's any leaks for the test screenings, we'll know that they're legit. Because he won't do any reshoots. And if people say they hate it during test screenings, then there's the potential that it's going to be garbage as well, because they won't change anything. Interesting. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I just thought this was a really peek behind the curtain and a potential interesting look at things to come. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. As always, give the video a like and a share. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye now.